The US did lose against Uruguay 1-0. And to be honest, I feel tired, I feel stressed, I feel like I have been cheated. And I say that because I felt like seeing these group of players, we know that we can achieve so much more. And I feel cheated on by this because I think that Gregg Berhalter took away what this US team could have been today. We were all very inspired by how many quality players we do have. Gio Reyna, Balogun, Christian Pulisic, Weston McKennie, Tyler Adams, Yunus Musa, Anthony Robinson, Tim Ream, Chris Richards, Joseph Scally, Matt Turner. The 11 that we had against Uruguay, this team is good enough to defeat Uruguay. And this team overall is good enough to get out of the group stages. But the US have not been able to do that. We have ended up in 3rd place, by the way. 3rd place. And not just that, but we only scored 3 goals in this tournament. Only 3 within a group that contained Panama, Bolivia, and Uruguay. Like I've said, with a front 3 of Gio Reyna, Balogun, and Christian Pulisic, or whether it's Christian Pulisic, Balogun, and Timothy Weah, the US is capable for so much more, but we under-delivered in terms of scoring more goals. It all started with the US under-delivering against Bolivia. That was a warning call, and that was a glimpse of what this US team was going to do in the Copa America. We all knew it, or we should have all knew it, that the US were going to under-deliver because with a team like Bolivia, they have conceded 3 goals against Panama and conceded 5 goals against Uruguay, okay? 5. The US only scored 2 against this team. The US could have scored so many more goals against Bolivia. It just, again, it told us what this US team was capable of, and it was not really much. And that is why we were unable to find solutions against Panama and unable to find solutions against Uruguay. Now you may argue, oh yeah, but Kevin, remember, Weah did not play throughout the full 90 minutes against Panama and he was out early and we had to play with 10 men. And I understand that, but just overall, it all started with the Bolivia game. We could have ended so much better. You better bet that if the US did beat Bolivia 5-0, 6-0, which they are very much capable of, they would have gone into the match against Panama with much more confidence, much more composure, much more ambition to get things done. And then we would have never worried about this 3rd game in the first place. We had to work our asses off to win in this game, and we could not do that. We worked our asses off only to fall short against Uruguay. And like I've said, Gregg Berhalter is to blame. I do believe that because the US is now out in their own home, by the way, because we are hosting this tournament, the fact that the US is now out in the group stages, not in the quarterfinals, not in the semifinals, but in the group stages, Gregg Berhalter will be fired. And it's strange to me, and it's crazy how most of these players that we see today, the main 11, right, they backed Gregg Berhalter to continue as the coach for the US. And I'm like, the only reason why these players back Gregg is because they're best friends. They're all friends. They're just a group of people that just says, you know what, he's a good guy, he's an awesome guy, we're good friends, let's just have him continue, when that should not even be the case. I think that whoever's in charge of hiring and firing for the US men's national team need to have much more competence, much more authority, and say, okay, I understand that you guys are friends and it's all jolly, right? But no, what we are going to be doing here is sign a much more serious coach, a coach that knows tactics, that knows philosophies, that knows how to get the best out of players, that knows systems, formations, etc. A coach that finds solutions. That is what the board should have done a year ago when Gregg Berhalter was rehired. Now, the board and all of us fans are paying the price for that. We are being humiliated by losing to Uruguay 1-0 and being knocked out in front of our own fans and in our home soil. Enough is enough. The US have to do something. The conversation is not about, okay, should we use this player instead of this player? No, the players are good enough. We know that. But Gregg Berhalter must go. Clint Dempsey said it perfectly. He did state that this is our golden generation and it looks like we are wasting it. The 2026 World Cup is coming up and I fully agree. We are wasting it. We are becoming Belgium 2.0. Look at what Belgium did in the past 10 years. They had great players like Kevin De Bruyne, Lukaku. They once had Hazard. At some point, they also had Company, Witzel, and other players, right? But they have always ended up under-delivering. Tournament after tournament, all the way until the Euros today. Belgium just got knocked out and they had great players. Belgium had Onana, Doku, Carrasco, Kevin De Bruyne, Lukaku going up against France. Like, that's good enough to defeat France. But the chemistry was not there. They were not good enough and efficient enough in front of goal. And the same thing is going to go on to the US. Dempsey is saying this from a mile away. We are now 2 years away for the 2026 World Cup to happen. And we have to make a change now to give this coach, whoever is next, enough time to really build his team and really get to know the players, have a great connection with them. We don't need to rejuvenate. We don't need to change formations. We just need a coach that makes these players believe and bring out the essence of these talented players. And so I'm not going to lie that, like, for a moment there throughout this game, I thought that the US were going to go through because at one point in the game, we were in second place. And that is because Bolivia did score. Bolivia held their own. It was 1-1 at one point and the US were tied 0-0 against Uruguay, and Uruguay were in first, the US were in second, and Panama we're in third and we're like, oh my God, can Bolivia actually pull off a miracle? Can they actually do this? But then eventually Panama scored 2 goals right after that and made it 3-1. And we're like, okay, so now it's all up to the US. We have to score 2 goals against Uruguay to have a chance to go into second place. But we just couldn't do it. It was a very even game, I would say. The way that Uruguay scored, I'm like, it's like those little details. Like we saw Araujo make a header straight to the goalkeeper. It got deflected. Another player who was named Oliveira ends up scoring on the rebound on the 66th minute. And we all thought that it was offside. But because Chris Richards' leg was spread out too deep, it allowed for Oliveira to be onside. And then we saw some of these Uruguayan players go body after body against the US. And we're like, there's like 10 fouls in this game. What's going on? Why is everybody always dropping to the floor? Balogun could not even last throughout the full 90 minutes. Gio Reyna was being tackled multiple times. Christian Pulisic was also being tackled multiple times. Tyler Adams and Weston McKennie had to fight for their lives, right? Tyler Adams had so many 1v1 duels. Sometimes he was being ganged up by 2 other players. It was, I would say, a very dirty tactical type of match. But when Uruguay went into the final third, they made sure that they get a few shots and tested Matt Turner. Uruguay had a total of 12 shots, 2 big chances, while the US only had 0. They had nothing. The US had 8 total shots, but they couldn't really convert anything into those 8 shots. Now we had some, like, we actually looked like we were about to score when Uruguay lost the ball in deep areas. This is something that is going to like penalize Uruguay later down the tournament, whether it's Argentina or Brazil. Uruguay lost the ball many times by Nandes or sometimes Manuel on the right flank. They gave it to the US and we saw multiple chances for Haji Wright to score the goal, Gio Reyna, even Malik Tillman. They also had their chances in the last 10 to 15 minutes. But these players, right, like Oliveira, Ronald Araujo, Viña, they always came in the last minute to block those shots. And, you know, I'm a Barcelona fan, right? And I've been seeing Araujo for the past 3 to 4 years. Every time I saw Araujo on a 1v1 duel, there was something in me that just said there's no reason to try, because Araujo is like an animal. That guy, he's unstoppable when he's on his A game. He's physically just too competent, mentally just always there. There was just no way for any of these players to beat Araujo. I don't even think Araujo lost any 1v1 duel, like none. Araujo had 8 clearances, 1 blocked shot, 4 interceptions, 3 total tackles. He was not dribbled past once, not once. And I wanted Gio Reyna to smoke this player, but it could not happen. And so the possession was 50-50 in terms of accurate passes. The US actually had more, and that is because the US were trying to outpass Uruguay, trying to get into the box. Again, nothing did happen. 5 shots were on target for Uruguay, while the US had 3 shots on target, 5 shots off target for Uruguay, and the US had 2 shots off target. And then when we talk about the expected goals, Uruguay had 1.4, while the US only had 0.56. It's very low, right? To Uruguay, when they had the ball, they were so close to scoring goals. And so besides this match, again, I just wanted to talk about the overall view of this game. It's not good enough. It's embarrassing. I don't want to go to the 2026 World Cup being embarrassed. I don't want to get grouped. Again, in the 2026 World Cup, that should be a time where every player's in their prime and we should be able to defeat the Uruguays, the Brazils, the Portugals, the Belgiums. The US should be good enough by this point. We don't want to go to 2026 and be humiliated. That 2026 World Cup, right? I was assessing all the other countries, right? I'm weird like that. I like to look at the trajectory of certain national teams. Dude, there's a lot of great national teams right now that have great young players, and they're going to be priming so hard in the 2026 World Cup. Like Spain have so many good youngsters like Lamine Yamal, Gavi, Pedri, Balde. Then you talk about Brazil, they have Vinicius, they have Endrick, they have Estevao William, aka Messinho, Rodrigo, Militao still going to be there. You move to Argentina, they're going to have Claudio Echeverri, Messi is probably still going to be there, Julian Alvarez, Paredes, Enzo Fernandez. Then you move on to Germany, they're going to be having Florian Wirtz, Musiala, Joshua Kimmich. And then you move on to the Netherlands, they're going to be having Frimpong, Frankie de Jong, Ping Pong, Luke de Jong. I'm joking, but you get what I mean, right? There's going to be so many great national teams that will be going so hard in the 2026 World Cup. It's going to be difficult, and the US cannot be held back by Gregg Berhalter. We need to be upgraded. We need something. We need Pep Guardiola. We need Mourinho. We need Xavi Hernandez. Somebody that will grow the sport. And so that is it. That is going to be wrapping up today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one.